Why are you doing this to me?
Why am I being a weapon of mass distraction?
Why are you doing this to me?
In my DNA, Chandler.
Oh yeah. There we go.
I was going more of a Clint Eastwood.
Have you been paying attention?
Not so much.
We haven't talked about.
Not so much.
We haven't been talking about
Macho Man Randy Savage.
We haven't been talking about this.
Whatever this is. Wow, freaking out.
Have you been paying attention to the bloodline?
The bloodline is getting ripped apart. But I mean,
Solo.
Yeah,
Sikoa.
Solo Sikoa. He thinks he's
and Judgment Day.
I'm not a fan of Judgment Day.
What do you think of Dirty Dom?
Dirty Dom is in a great position, stuck between a delicious place and an even more delicious place. I mean, he's stuck between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan.
It's fantastic, bro.
Whew. God, what is wrong with you people?
But I will say this. Triple H has changed the whole entire game.
Yeah,
which is his,
ever since he came into upper management.
Which is his MO.
Yeah, his modus operandi, not his ammo, Jennifer.
His ammo.
Yeah. Jennifer used to be like, what? That's what that means? It's MO, not ammo? Oh, bless your heart, dear.
We're laughing with you?
Not me.
All right, are we starting this?
Let's start it real quick here.
Let's do it.
Riegers. We're no strangers to Riegers.
Not at all.
J. Rieger Company around here. And soon we will not be a stranger to this Rieger Sweet Mash. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Straight bourbon whiskey, clocking in at 90 proof, along with the KC Kid on this episode of Savor the Burn. Pow! Welcome one and all, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, to this episode of the Savor the Burn podcast. My name is Jonathan. Over there is Mr. W2, and right smack dab in the middle is the KC Kid.
Heyo. Hello.
You get it. Anyway, so this go around, we're going to do another offering from the wonderful J. Rieger Company right here in Kansas City.
And what better episode to have? The KC Kid.
KC Kid. Yeah, right here with it.
KC all around.
So like I said in the intro, it clocks in at 90 proof, but this one here, it's just a straight bourbon whiskey. It's not your regular Kansas City whiskey with, 2% Chardonnay. Is that what it is?
Oloroso Sherry.
Oloroso Sherry added to the mix just to make it a whiskey. This is an actual straight bourbon whiskey. You add anything to a bourbon, it's no longer bourbon. It's whiskey.
There's so much to unpack with this.
There really is.
I am so excited about this.
Yeah.
They announced this not that long ago, and I immediately became giddy to get a new offering from them. Yeah,
a lot of people were. I've seen a lot of activity on this bottle in the whiskey groups.
And I had gone out and I had actually seen it at a couple stores. Mm-hmm. It's a $30 bottle. I mean, so you cannot.
It's not bad.
You cannot beat the price.
Mm-hmm.
But I had not picked it up yet, and then lo and behold, we had one of our developers that lives in Vegas, Brian Ronald. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at you because I know you follow.
I'm looking at you too.
He was in town.
Should I look at him?
No, you were looking at your phone.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll stop looking at my phone and I'll look at him.
He was in town for a week for some work stuff, and so end of the week came, and our fearless leader was like, you know what? We need to show him some Kansas City.
Yep.
So he went ahead and booked us their heritage, the whiskey tour, which is kind of it's their middle tier. They've got 3 different tier tours. The whiskey tour, which is right in the middle. We did that. And man, I learned some things that I did not know about Rieger, and I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
This offering in particular is not only their latest offering. This is an offering that apparently they have been talking about it. They being Riegers, they talk about it as the offering they have been waiting since they opened in 2014
Wow.
to release.
Huh.
This is Rieger's has their KC Kansas City whiskey with the standard offering.
Mm-hmm.
They also have their bottled and bond straight bourbon whiskey, which is 100 proof. A bottled and bond whiskey has to be aged minimum of 4 years. Their bottled and bond, they do 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bottled and bond rye, and then they have their private stock offerings. This is their first straight bourbon that they've released at 90 proof.
Mm-hmm.
A straight bourbon whiskey has to be aged minimum of 2 years. Guess what Rieger's did? They did it 4 years.
4 years?
So
that color came from 4 years?
That color is from 4 years. And this one, as the label says, I love that. I
Right there on the punt.
I'm
Not
so in love
everybody
with that.
labels the punt.
Yeah, got the Rieger shield on the bottom. But their label on this one, they chose to point out the fact that it's sweet mash. Mm-hmm. And so I was all excited about that. I'm like, this is not only a straight bourbon, a sweet mash offering. On the tour, I asked the question about that, and come to find out, to do a sweet mash is a lot more work.
Is it?
It's a lot more work, and it's a lot more money because you're not reusing the last batch's mash, a portion of the mash. That's what makes it a sour mash.
Yeah.
A sweet mash is 100% new grains across the board. So it's going to be a more expensive process.
Okay.
And as a result of that, there's a lot more that goes into that. So, but what I learned on the tour was everything Rieger's does is actually sweet mash. They do not do sour mash for anything. And I think that's pretty cool.
Which is probably why I think it's so damn good. I have yet to have a bad experience with a bottle of Rieger's.
So this particular bottle is sweet mash process that delivers the smoothest, most flavorful result. The way we double distill for the ultimate mouthfeel and texture. So that was something else that I learned too. They actually do a double distillation on I don't know if it's on everything, but this one specifically is a double distillation.
There we go.
Gotta love the
Good pop. Good pop.
To be a straight bourbon whiskey, you have to be aged minimum of 2 years. This one is aged at least 4 years in our rick house for even more character and layering of flavors. The mash bill on this is 56% corn, 30% rye, and 14% malted barley.
You said 56% corn?
Mm-hmm. It's got to be at least 51%. They bumped it up to 56%. It's actually the same mash bill as their bottled and bond bourbon. I also learned too that all of their rick houses are actually bonded rick houses.
How much rye?
30%.
30%?
That's a good amount of rye.
Yeah, you can smell it.
Mm-hmm. So what I pulled off of their website says, raise a glass to heritage and say cheese to great bourbon. We're proud to present the inaugural bottling of Rieger Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the spirit that represents the next chapter in J. Rieger and Company story and introduces to the world the 90 proof bourbon we've been dreaming of since reviving the distillery back in 2014. This one is special, starting with how we make it. While the vast majority of bourbon distilleries in the United States utilize the sour mash process out of tradition, J. Rieger and Company is among a small group of pioneers embracing the more innovative use of sweet mash fermentation. Creating a sweet mash bourbon isn't easy, but one taste will tell you it's worth it. While this approach requires more attention to detail, it allows us more flexibility to create the smoothest, most flavorful whiskey. Next, we employ a unique two-step distillation process that leverages both our pot still and our column still. Again, this process takes more time, but affords our distillers more control to create a whiskey with the ultimate mouthfeel and texture, heightening the richness and depth of flavors. Finally, It's into the barrel for at least 4 years of aging in our Kansas City rick house for even more character and layering of flavors. The result? A spectacularly delicious, easy drinking, and approachable bourbon, one that will be a welcome presence in both retail and home bars. One that is inherently mixable, making every cocktail more special, one that will stand the test of time, delighting experienced bourbon drinkers, and no doubt bringing new enthusiasts into the fold.
It hit me with a wow. When I saw it, I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That is something.
So-
I don't know what that is, but it's really something.
So back to the tour that I did when our friend Brian was in town. We sat through the video, we got to go into the rick house, and then they took us around the corner, and part of their whiskey tour is you get a private tasting in a special glass room that's completely surrounded head to toe of their ricks of barrels. And so we're sitting in this room surrounded by stacks and stacks of barrels, and because of this new offering, the taste is typically a foretaste, the Kansas City whiskey, the Bottle and Bond bourbon, the Bottle and Bond rye, and then whatever their bottle your own private stock is. Well, they slid in this new straight bourbon.
They just slid it in there.
Slid it in there.
Like a finger in the right place.
Hey-o!
So I'm getting, like, right off the bat, I got caramel, don't look at me that way, and caramel corn. And did you say it had any, what is it, barley?
There is.
There is? Okay, because, like, I'm picking up dried
13%?
grasses.
14%.
Like, I'm getting, like, dried grasses.
14% malted barley. That's like the malted barley.
In the heat, it's malted barley. Okay, so I'm expecting a certain taste off of that one. What about the rye? Is it malted rye?
It just says rye.
Okay,
rye.
okay, that's fine.
And just to go, this was given out on 816 Day, right?
They had that with our flight card, because the flight card, the standard flight card had the 4 on there, and they had this with it because it had the info on the other side.
Well, listen, I gotta take a quick moment as a Casey kid.
Please do.
As
816 Day.
I gotta give a quick shout out to
August 16th.
the true 816 person, which is my mama.
Yeah?
That's her birthday.
All right.
And listen, you can't say great without Greta, and that's how I feel about that. So,
All right.
816 right there.
Yep. I'm 18,
True.
so I'm
Yeah.
missing
Yeah,
the
you're
mark
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you 2 days away.
I'm getting caramel corn, dried grasses, raisins. I'm not sure what else.
You want me to tell you what their tasting notes say?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to wait a little bit?
I don't know. Just the nose. Just the nose.
Aromas of candied citrus and baked bread.
Fuck, I don't have the candied citrus.
But this smell is amazing, though.
There might be
There's
citrus
orange.
on there.
There's orange on that nose.
Orange. All right.
I smell the orange. This is amazing. Like,
It smells really good.
This is definitely a standout offering for them. I mean,
And it's a lot easier to sniff
I love the Kansas City
because
whiskey.
it's 90 proof.
I love the Bottled and Bond bourbon.
2.8 or whatever that was.
The Bottled and Bond rye is really good.
You got me. You gave me a bottle of that.
And we have tried a handful of private stock,
We have.
high proof bottles that are just
We did all of the Negro League not museum, the Negro League themed
Series,
bottles.
yeah.
You were here for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there oak on it?
Maybe a little bit. So every Rieger bottle, this is the standard bottle. Mm-hmm. They've changed it up a little bit for this offering.
Right here, it's shouldered. It's more of a stout shoulder and a shorter neck.
And it's ribbed right there.
I'm interested to know.
Yeah, right there.
So when you went through the tour, did they talk about the bottle and the inspiration from that, or
They did talk a little bit about it. So yeah, this bottle, which all of their bottles follow. I mean, even the private stocks are this bottle.
Okay. So none of the original releases had the embossment down on the bottom that this one has.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no,
they're there.
No, it's
They're
there.
No. I mean, right down here on the bottom. See that?
No,
Gotcha.
that's
None of them had
that's
that.
brand new. It's also I was gonna say thicker glass, but no, that's still a thick bottom.
Roughly the same, but yeah,
they talked about that when in 2012, 2013, when they got together and they started talking about resurrecting this. What kicked that off was in 2010-ish, 2011. They reopened the Rieger Hotel with the Speakeasy Manifesto, really paying close attention to capturing that 1920s speakeasy vibe and all that. And then one day, I think it was for maybe the grand opening.
Okay.
In walked the only living direct descendant of Alexander Rieger.
Okay.
Walks in and they says, "Hey, thank you for honoring our family. Thank you for honoring their heritage." They kicked off a conversation that led to, you know what would be cool?
Think I don't, motherfucker?
And here we go in 2024.
I'm going to go off track for a hot second. Just
a tangent?
Yeah, it's a little bit of tangent.
We never do that.
Never heard of it.
A Chandler tangent for a hot second. I didn't notice this, and I almost, on reflection, would probably bump this up whatever score that I gave it.
4.
Higher, because did you notice the...
I didn't!
And
shit!
So inside of here, go back to the past episode on Savor the Burn when it comes to talk about the Negro League. And we talked about this bottle, but I just noticed that with the sticker, and I think the segue, if we want to talk about this, I talked about J. Rieger being very intentional about what they do. This, for me, us being able to randomly pick this
that just
and
got
put
more
this down
intentional.
is the most intentional thing that I've seen. So inside on the sticker, you can see the Negro League logo that's in there.
Yeah, full color logo.
Yeah, full color logo. And then on the other side is a photo of, I'm assuming the Grays from a historical perspective. So the idea that you're drinking this and then looking at the back and being able to see that is an amazing type of we wouldn't have been
detail.
The more you get to know the bottle, the more you understand the team.
And we would not have been able to experience that until you get further down. So it's we're judging it as it is, but then it's you're getting further down and it's oh, there's another layer of storytelling that's here.
Wild.
And that's such a cool way to kind of do that.
And that bottle was not that low when you guys left that night.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, some bottles you just got to tap into. Others you don't. Looking at you, Navigator.
You think that if we drank the Navigator, there would be this is like Goonies, we'd find a map that would lead us to some because
we'd be the only people
can I be honest with you?
The bottle.
Can I be honest with you? That'd be the only way to redeem that drink. That's the only thing that's it.
How about
I'm zinging Navigator.
Here's an idea. Do you still have that Navigator? Somewhere. He's gonna dig around in ye olden whiskey chest and find that bottle of Navigator.
One-eyed Willie
and then
is gonna be out there.
We're gonna force ourselves to bottle kill that son of a bitch for an episode. What thinketh thou this?
So
0 views.
Let us know in the comments.
0 views.
Back from tangent to this bottle.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the neck label or the neck tape here. I love that they've got the shield on there in gold and established in 1887.
Okay.
That's a pretty significant
Not the reopen date.
No, that's definitely not the reopen. That's their original established date. Back before the Missouri River the flood had completely changed the course of the flow of the river, flooded the entire bottoms area, destroyed everything.
And I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things about J. Rieger that he did, and I don't know if this involves any of this, but he also during the Prohibition kept all of his Like,
so we got into the an entire flight of private stocks recently, and one of the things that we talked about was on the onset of Prohibition, when you were not allowed to sell, you were not allowed to have or whatever. He went through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and then went to the Missouri courts and said, look, it is in my right to, these are my barrels. It is in my right to transport these to my home. This is my private stock. And they went to court over it. They went back and forth, and it was found that, you can't sell, you can't distribute, but there's nothing that said you could not own. Yeah. So he was allowed to transport all. I don't remember how. There was a lot. Yeah. It was it was millions of dollars worth of barrels.
In that day's
his
money.
Private stock became the inspiration for that particular line of.
And nowadays, you hear the term private stock, and you think, okay, is this some kind of exclusionary term, or is this just a marketing ploy? Well, yes, it is kind of marketing, but it's also a nod to history.
Yeah.
A blatant nod to history. What do we get? All right, so we talked about, I talked about caramel corn. Every time I pick this thing up, I smell caramel corn, like hard fucking core. Dried grasses, raisins. You picked up some orange, the notes said candied orange peel, candy orange slices, something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Dude, can we have this on the palate already?
Yeah, let's get it on the palate. And real quick, a toast. 816 day. You can't have 816 without Greta.
Yeah.
Can't be great without Greta. To you, Greta.
Cheers, Kansas City.
Thank you, G. It's so wild going from...
That is not 90 proof, dude.
It's so wild going from what we had beforehand to this. And feeling like I just drink water. That's how I feel right now. It's wild.
That's
water in a good way.
That's delicious. I mean, that is caramel. I got a lot more citrus on the palate.
Okay, yeah.
I'm always anxious that I don't know what to expect with this, and this was like.
That's one of the things that I've really discovered.
Had you not had this one yet?
That I love about whiskey you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I had already decided before. Once my boss said, "Hey, are you available? We're going to go down and do the tour." I had already decided that's my opportunity. I'm going to get the new bottle while we're there. But then we had it on the tour and the tasting, and I was just like, "Oh hell yes, I'm going home with this bottle." I mean, this is sweet. It's got caramel. It's got vanilla. I would even say a vanilla, not quite a vanilla custard, but it's a vanilla pudding.
Oh, fuck! I was really hoping you were going to say vanilla bean, because I put in vanilla bean.
I will say vanilla
and brown sugar.
I will say vanilla bean.
Citrus, caramel.
Yep.
Yeah, for me the citrus woke up for this particular time.
Is that brown sugar or maybe molasses?
Molasses. I could put down molasses here. Citrus, caramel, vanilla bean.
I really am impressed and really love the fact that, one, this is their first straight bourbon whiskey that they've released, which means that, you have to age it for 2 years. But just like their Bottle and Bond, they went above and beyond. Bottle and Bond
easy drinking.
Is a 4-year. Yeah. Well, they released their Bottle and Bond at 6 years. So guess what? Their straight bourbon whiskey, instead of releasing it at 2 years, they're waiting 2 more and releasing it at 4 years. And that color speaks volumes to that. Also, part of being a straight bourbon whiskey is, just like with Bottled and Bond, it means there is 0 additives, 0 colors.
Yep. There's a touch of sediment in there too. I don't know how that happened.
The only thing you can do to be straight or Bottled and Bond is add water to it. Bottle and Bond has to be exactly 100 proof, so you can add water to bring it down to 100 proof. That's it.
But this is
for straight. There's no proof regulation on straight bourbon, but the only thing you can add to it is water.
And
that's it. So that color is straight 4-year age. I think it's kind of cool. Apparently, their there is not very many, like maybe one or two at the most, other distilleries that are located next door to train tracks.
So you think of that
so they
vibration in the earth.
They do not turn their barrels. They put them on the racks. They leave them. The trains that go through on a daily basis rumbles the whole thing.
That's a very blackened way to.
They actually mentioned that. They talked about blackened and pumping. They're like, we're not pumping Metallica in here,
right?
But we've got the trains that roll through all the time, and it shakes the entire warehouse.
Yeah, wow.
And agitates the barrels naturally.
I mean, they could be pumping some Burn the Gates in there.
I mean, I'd be okay with that.
Just gonna throw that in there, especially after that last show we had at Grinders. Every time Brendan hit that damn thunder pad.
How many shows have we played? And that was the first show that I was like, oh goddamn.
Yeah. Wowza! Sometimes you hear it, sometimes that time we felt it.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
There was definitely some thunder from down under going on with that sub.
It was an amazing show.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah,
you took.
It's the first time
photos
time that I got to see you.
Yeah, with me in the band
in your element, and it was absolutely amazing. I mean,
you may have been there for Burn the Gates photo day right when I joined the band. You haven't had the opportunity to see.
No, yeah. I mean, I was there basically when the birth was happening.
Yeah.
But now I got to see
the culmination of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Basically, as Forrest Gump would say, I was running.
I was running.
Yeah.
And then there was that tornado fan right in the front of the stage that every time I just stepped one step a little bit too farther forward, whoosh,
the beer would split or the beer would go. He somehow standing face plant his own beard would face plant into him.
And I'm gonna put that photo that Chandler took.
That was great.
Right now.
Yeah,
that was a great photo.
It was fantastic.
The first couple times it happened, I'm like, shit, I need to stop more. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna embrace it and enjoy it and let it be a spectacle.
Which is what happens when you put a train right next to a distillery.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Yep. Yeah. Just close your eyes and let yourself go pigeon-toed.
And
bite the pillow if you have to.
This is not a spirit that's on there, but walking out onto the floor of the distillery and seeing their fermentation tanks and the pot still and the column still. And then down on the other end, seeing, they had some very special barrels that were out on the floor. And then there's the pyramid of these ginormous black barrels that, first of all, they're black barrels. So I'm like, what are those?
Talk to me about the blackness.
Those are Oloroso sherry barrels that they got from Spain.
Back in 18
There's a whole story behind that, but the thing that is just so mind-blowing about that set of barrels, aside from a museum somewhere, I forget where in South America it is, but aside from a museum in South America, there is not a collection of those barrels anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And those barrels are over 100 years old.
Those are those giant barrels
that
you can see from the reception desk.
Yep. So they talked about their
this means in the back, by the way.
Their monogram product, which is their high end. I think it's like $130, $140 bottle. I have not purchased one of those, but we've had it there at their tasting room. It's incredible. It's also different from year to year, and that is because they do. And I'm blanking on the term that they use, but so those barrels are in a pyramid, right? The oldest ones are on the bottom, on up. The monogram offering is an annual offering. They take a barrel from the bottom, the oldest. They take one of those barrels I don't remember if he said a percentage of there, but they don't bottle the whole barrel. They barrel only a percentage of it, and then they take one of the barrels from the next row up and put it back into that barrel.
Okay, that almost sounds like an infinity barrel.
And that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing a rotation of all these ages. They're actually bottling from the bottom, the oldest, but they're replacing a portion of that with the next level and then rotating those down the tier.
Yeah. So you get super old whiskeys.
If you really think about that and really think about what's going into that and what's all that type of a blending process, this year's release of the Monogram actually took Whiskey of the Year.
Whiskey of the Year. Wow. Took the whole thing.
Yep.
That's indicative of some serious craftsmanship. That whole process that you talked about, using those ancient barrels. I mean, by
100-year-old barrels.
100-year-old barrels.
That they are still continually just cycling.
I mean, at 100 years, I don't think. I mean, if I'm still alive, I don't think I'm going to have much left to give to the world. But these barrels are still in use, probably because they keep being hydrated and rehydrated.
Well,
that's the only thing that keeps these things.
That's just it.
In action.
Yep. That's it.
I'd like to know if they have this whiskey available in a higher proof, like in a like cask strength or something. Because we got fewer tasting notes, but they were pretty vivid.
So let me go back to those tasting notes.
Okay, yeah.
So I just mentioned the nose, the aromas.
Yeah.
So, rich flavors of orange marmalade, cracked pepper, and lightly toasted coconut are followed up by a long finish with hints of mild tobacco and a toffee-like sweetness. I don't disagree with any of that, but I don't know if I picked up on the tobacco.
I disagree with just about everything that was said. On the palate, we got citrus, caramel, vanilla bean, or just at least vanilla. I thought vanilla bean. Maybe it was power of suggestion. Let's see here. Brown sugar or molasses. Vanilla custard. I picked up on some oak. There was some oak influence in there. On the finish, we didn't really talk about it, but I think it was short. I think it was a short finish. The only thing on the finish that lingers is sweet. There's just sweet, like indiscriminate sweet on the palate.
I don't disagree with that.
To me, it's like a stevia sweet.
But I think all the flavors in the finish come all the way through. The finish just tapers quickly.
Okay, yeah, vanilla custard, sweet, caramel, short/quick taper on the finish. And we talked a bit about the bottle presentation, but one thing we didn't talk about is
it's a new bottle design. They still have the shield on the bottom of it. They have the ashtray ridging, the ridges on there, but they've also incorporated the J. Rieger and Company.
Yeah, they added to it from what they've done before.
And then they've got this lip right here to kind of put a cap on it that was not there before.
And they kept the embossment down there on the punt.
Yeah,
if you can call that a punt.
So you asked me before, did they talk about that? One of the things that they did talk about is when they started talking about and kind of reimagining bringing the distillery back.
Yeah.
They started digging into history and found some of the original bottles.
Yep.
But as they kind of dug a little deeper, they realized that this unique bottle design and the J. Rieger bottles were actually popping up all over the place, and they attributed that to the fact that the original distillery was down in the West Bottoms, across the street from the stock exchange. You got the train tracks that run by there, so
yeah, main thoroughfare, trade route.
J. Rieger is also one of their claim to fames back in the day was they owned the market of mail order whiskey.
That's right.
They had, the Sears and Roebuck catalog of whiskey.
Of whiskey, yeah.
And so they were, and with the rail lines that were going right by there, they were putting them on the trains, and those trains were going all over the place. So they, as they dug into that, they have found J. Rieger bottles in every corner of the country because of that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the decisions that went back into bringing this back was let's pay homage to those original bottle designs, of which, so originally they were located in the West Bottoms. There was a beer brewery that actually came to Kansas City and settled in the East Bottoms area and opened up a glass factory for their brewery.
Okay.
J. Rieger started using them, and they were the ones who produced the J. Rieger bottles. Prohibition, everything, they went under.
The glass company did,
the both.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Rieger, where Rieger is today.
Thanks a lot, government.
Where Rieger is today is where that was originally. Located.
That was the glass blowing grounds. Wow.
Yes.
Huh.
So again, full circle, whole picture, every detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to.
We've talked about this before. Whiskey history is American history. Like, if you dig into whiskey history, you're going to find so many dots that connect with so many different areas of the entire United States.
Yep. My name is Kay.
My name is Casey Kid.
I'd have burned the gates there at some point, show up at.
I'm gonna rewrite.
At least
Toy
wearing
Box.
the T-shirt.
I'd be rocking the T-shirt, but I'd have you perform. Like we do a mix. Anyway,
it's a whole thing. It's gonna be a whole thing. Right, nose. I gave it a 3.5 on the nose. It, like I said, look, dudes, don't come at me with that look, with the head shake. Fine, you know what? Come at me.
The beard.
Come at me, bro.
Wave.
Come at me, bro.
Let it wave.
I got caramel corn, which I really did enjoy. I don't enjoy caramel corn in real life, but I do. I mean, the smell was there, and it was great. It was a great experience. Dried grasses, raisin, orange.
You're gonna get a comment now from Katie. She's all about her kettle corn and caramel.
I love kettle corn.
I love kettle corn.
I will fight somebody over some kettle corn. Every year I get the big bag. Sometimes I get two because I'm a fat boy. But those kettle corn bags disappear with a quickness, and every year Jennifer's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna be sick." Do I ever get sick?
My name is kettle corn.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
I love kettle corn. Not so much caramel corn.
First of all, share the wealth.
Yeah?
So, yeah, please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
I'm
right.
big
fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge fan of kettle corn.
The same people show up at Old Shawnee days.
Silver Dollar City.
That's coming too.
Okay.
When you smell that kettle corn being popped, it's one of my favorite things. It's so good.
I'm a slut for fall festivals.
So good. I'm a huge kettle corn fan.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with that.
Well, we're going to go right back to the rating. So I gave it a 3.5 on the nose, only because we usually get a wider variety of things to talk about on the nose, all these different points. But on this one, we only came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. And however, they were more pronounced.
Sure.
I'll give them that. So that's why I gave it a 3.5. W2, how about you?
I gave it a 4.
He gave it a 4 even. We're a half point off from each other.
Yeah. That's all good.
How about you, Chandler?
I feel like I'm about to be like Pharrell and just be straight up happy. And I gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4.
I'm just straight up giving it a 4. You'll see more of what that happiness looks like.
Yeah.
So 4.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I'm all right with that. I gave it a 4 on the palate. On the palate, there was citrus, there was caramel explosion, pretty much. Vanilla bean, maybe vanilla custard. You said. I said brown sugar. He said molasses. It's in the ballpark, but it is a totally different experience. I picked up on a little bit of oak. For me, it was a better experience, more indicative of your regular bourbon. But every one of those flavors is more elevated.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with the 4-year age statement on this bourbon. How about you, Mr. KC Kid?
I gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4.
No,
all right,
4.
So yeah, girl, same.
Just straight up. Yep.
How about you, W2?
Yeah, 4 1/4.
So you liked it more than we did.
I did.
None of us didn't like it.
Yeah,
because
it's delicious.
4 is the low end of greatness in our scale of 0 to 5.
True story.
Finish, I gave it a 3.5. For me, the finish was it tapered off so quick.
It did.
It was a little disheartening. It wasn't disappointing because all the flavors were there. It's just it happened so fast. It really it was because of the finish that really made me want like a cask strength. It really made me want a higher proof, something more true to the barrel, so we could experience more of a concentrated experience, I think. How about you, W2?
I gave it a 4 even.
Okay.
Can I say this and and I don't know this is fair. We've talked about this throughout the history of kind of rating, but I feel like you've convinced me of doing a 3.75 instead of a 4. I completely understand that. There's a part where the first taste I was okay.
Yeah.
It felt very watery to a certain extent. I'll preface this. I gave it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Staying happy. I think that it clears the gate. Doesn't burn the gates, but it clears the gate of basically.
There.
I dig it. I digs it.
Branding. I got you. So it clears the gates in the sense of having a solid taste and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility that I would have taste this again, and either it would go higher or lower based on the experience that I just had.
Context.
I just picked up on a touch of black pepper on the finish. So there's room for exploration with this bourbon.
Oh yeah.
And again, when you're going through this episode, this podcast is different where you're shooting and recording a variety behind the scenes. We're gonna do a little BTS real quick. You're shooting multiple episodes in one shoot. It's your taste buds are gonna change depending upon what you're having first, second, third. That's gonna be a thing. So us having something that is really have heavy heat, it's gonna change how I'm perceiving this.
It's gonna perceptificate.
Yes, perceptificate. Perceiving this.
Perceptify.
This bourbon as opposed to the first bourbon or the next bourbon. All those different types of things. So I think that that's one of those things that is a really good kind of highlight of how we, we're judging this based off of how our taste buds are, even though I tried to take the sniff test and
we tried to reset our palate early. If you remember, shaking the vanilla or the coffee beans. Coffee is known for resetting your sniffer. Your olfactory glands get completely reset, and then hopefully you can give a more honest review of the next thing. Wine drinkers do it. Whiskey drinkers do it. Beer drinkers do it. They have them in candle shops. So we talked, I think, at great length about bottle presentation. This bottle, it's a new design. It's the shoulder is shorter and stouter. The ribbing, if you want to call it that, the lines up here are still there. There's a more pronounced beveling. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's what you want to call it. Sure. Edge right there. There's zero taper to the body of the bottle. The base is still a nice thick base, no punt really to speak of. They kept the Rieger Shield logo at the bottom. There is now an embossment, Rieger Company, across the diameter of the bottom. Mm-hmm. They kept the wood topper with the natural cork, I think. Composite cork. This one here's got a little bit of a gray.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's leftover charcoal from the barrel. I'm not sure. I'm not mad at it. Or maybe it's just some of the coloration from the topper. Really, we can get into the weeds on this as far as bottle presentation goes, and we already have probably 2 or 3 times by now. But as far as bottle presentation goes, I like the update. That's why I raised it from a 4, which is what I've given all the other Rieger's bottles, which now looking back at these Negro Leagues bottles, I mean, seeing the full color logo here and seeing the team group photo here.
It's a game changer. It really is.
Man, we didn't see this before. How could we? There was too much whiskey in the bottle. I mean, W2 had to come down here and do some R&D on these bottles and get them lowered a little bit so Chandler could come over and point that out to us.
Taking one for the team.
That said, the team, I get it. It's a whole... Anyway, so yeah, so that's why I gave it a quarter point extra. I do like the update of the bottle. So that's where I came in at 4.25. How about you, W2?
Girl, same.
Ooh. So that was a long bunch of words for coming up with a 4.25.
KC Kid,
how do you feel about it?
I gave it a 4.
He gave it a 4.
Again, Pharrell happy. I'm just because I'm happy. Here's the thing. I think it's beautiful. I think it's great. Yeah. I think that I think that it.
There's no bag.
Doesn't add to
no bag, no box.
It doesn't necessarily add to the legacy of the rest of the bottles. I think that the rest of the bottles have way more personality.
This collection, the Negro League collection, is a one-off.
It is.
It's like I wouldn't even bring those.
But I will say that this.
Even though I did.
I will say that this bottle and every bottle that they create has a distinct history of why they do this bottle. Mm-hmm. This is like the alternative that they are going adjacent to it. Mm-hmm. Like it still has some elements that are there.
This is more true to the brand, the J. Rieger and Company branding.
Well, I don't know about that because I think
all of the J. Rieger branding plus the local. Well, plus
okay, I get what you're saying.
The history points.
Because I was going to say the bottle itself, the glass itself is true J. Rieger. Here's the deal. So the thing about this is like this bottle is one of those things where it's a lot like it's more condensed. It's a different style, and I enjoy it. I think that it's clean. I love the aesthetic of it, all those types of things. But like overall, I think that this has way more history and style to it, and that's why I gave it a 4.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're passing bottles over here. All right. So you gave it a 4. You gave it a 4.25. I gave it a 4.25. W2, what was your final score?
8.5.
8.5. I felt kind of bad because mine is a 7 3/8. It's a bit low for a Rieger's, honestly.
Hey, it's your score.
It's my score. It's my first impression, But KC Kid,
I gave it an 8.
KC Kid kept it 4s across the board and ended up with an even 8 score on the whole thing.
Breaking the tie.
So yeah, completely
middle of the road.
You're welcome.
Right here.
We are not within a blip of each other.
No,
I don't think, but. Not every whiskey's going to be that way.
It's all right.
Not every whiskey's going to be that way. Now, does that mean that I didn't enjoy this whiskey? No, I actually really fucking love this whiskey. This is really good. This would be the
Wait for the cocktail.
This would be the daily sipper. This would be the cocktail spirit. This would be the
for
thing
a $30 bottle.
$30 bottle. You can bring that to every bottle share event you go to. You can stick this in a gift bag for birthdays, bar mitzvahs, weddings, kindergarten graduations, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
Sisters' birthdays.
Yeah, if you have a sister named Face, this would probably be a great bottle for them. So if you're looking for a Kansas City whiskey that actually, no, this isn't even a Kansas City whiskey. If you're looking for a
it is a Kansas City
whiskey from Kansas City.
It's a straight bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, if you're looking for a straight bourbon whiskey that is not necessarily indicative of the Kansas City whiskey experience, but is a wonderful straight bourbon whiskey, look no further than Rieger's straight bourbon whiskey. Clocking in at 90 proof. Do we have an MSRP on this? You said 90?
$30.
You said $30. I'm stuck on that 90 proof. The 90 proof on this, I think, does it a disservice.
Yep.
However, it is still a very wonderful bottle. It's very good. It's going to be great, I'm sure, in a cocktail because of the few amounts of different flavors that we came up with. They're enhanced, and some bottles are like that, and this one is certainly like that. So if you're looking for a bottle to give, to get, to share, and to experience, this bottle may 100% be the bottle you want to get. W2, do you have any closing thoughts?
I like it.
How about you, KC Kid?
I like it too.
I like it 3. So if you like what we're doing here on Savor the Burn, if you were wondering what this bottle was going to be like and you stuck around to this point, definitely give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're listening to this on the audio only, we 100% thank you, and share it with people that also share your enthusiasm for bourbon. We've always said, thanks to Bruzel, that the whiskey business is a relationship business. Tell Chandler to quit giving me that fucking look out of the corner of my eyes. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for hitting subscribe. Click that bell notification. Click ting.
Do it now.
Now.
Then.
Okay.
And keep following along on the Savor the Burn episodes and experience. And no matter who you are, what you're drinking, where you're drinking it, and who you're drinking it with, never forget.
Keep on burning.